Hello, welcome to the podcast. Today we're going to be talking about how to build self esteem, embracing your God given confidence. All right, so I know we all have thoughts once in a while. We all are aware of the things that we do that we don't want to do. But I would say most of the time, we are not aware of the negative thoughts we have about ourselves unless we make a decision that we are going to pay attention to them. It is so beneficial for us to know we have to supervise our brains. Our brains can be negative unless we make a decision that we are going to concentrate on the positive. Now, one of the things that I have learned lately that I would say has been the most freeing for me is to realize that I am not perfect, and nor even is it something that I strive to be. I am a human being on this earth having a human experience with the Holy Spirit living inside me. And I know I am forgiven. I know Christ has made a way for me. And I'm going to always remember that. But the number one thing that I would say recently has helped me so much is to know that I do not have to prove anything. If someone or even myself says, "Oh, I wish I'd have done that different," I'm going to say, I am a human being. I am learning. I am at times not the person I want to be. Of course, there's going to be times where I come across as a bitch. Don't know whether I should really say that on here. Of course, there's going to be times I'm tired. Of course, there's going to be times that I react in ways that I don't want to react. But you know what? This is the thing. If I notice myself beating myself up about it, I am going to stop myself. And I am going to say, there is not one person that is experiencing this humanness that we all go through that hasn't done a thing or two that they wish they hadn't, that hasn't reacted in certain ways. But as soon as I stopped having to prove that to anybody and even to myself, I can say, of course I did that. And dear Lord, please forgive me. And I can move on. I don't have to stay stuck in that. Now, one thing that I think is very helpful as well is recognizing when we say those things to ourselves, when we are recognizing a negative conversation we're having with ourselves. And there are a lot of different ways that this happens. So we have distorted thoughts about things like saying always, like I'm always late, or I'm always eating the wrong thing, or I always dress sloppy, or whatever. Most of the time, 99% of the time, anytime we're ever saying always, challenge that. We're not always late. We're not always grumpy. We're not always negative. We're not always that word that I said earlier that I spelt out. We are, in fact, most of the time, whenever you notice you're saying to yourself, you're always something in a negative way, that is a clue to go and search 3 times that you weren't and tell yourself that. So, whenever you use that for yourself, like I am always this, and we all know our thing because we all have that thing that we're always telling ourselves. Think right now of the last thing that you've said to yourself that you're always, and find 3 things in your life that wipe that out. And then next time you say it, because, sometimes these automated thoughts, we're just used to saying them over and over again, or our subconscious thought brings that feeling up of that always. We can have something to go to counterdict it and tell ourselves, of course I think that, but now I know, here I have these 3 times. And then also, decide right then that you're going to pay attention to the other things that you do in your life that cancels that always out as well. So you can give yourself more things, more ammunition to counterdict that negative thought that you had about yourself. So we can have emotional reasoning as well. What that basically means is we can have times that we feel something. So then, because we have that feeling, that means something. Well, the only thing that happened from us feeling something is we know we had a thought before that. So that was either a thought that we in our conscious mind just thought of, or it's something that we've thought about over and over again and it just came up. So once we recognize that, we get the opportunity to once again look for 3 times that prove that wrong and input that in. And if you ever have a hard time coming up with them yourself, then it is time to ask a loving, close friend. Okay, I have this thought that keeps coming up. Can you help me think of 3 things that would cancel that out for that not to always be true, or so I can come up with that next time when I'm thinking that I have these 3 things that I'm going to that you reminded me or you told me about, so I can cancel that out the next time it comes. Well, I've said this before on the podcast, but years ago when I helped a friend in a spa, we would, and it's unbelievable, women that are working in a spa, how often they can make little comments about themselves that is negative. And we just decided that we were going to start, anytime we noticed it, we were going to say, okay, stop. Think of 3 things that are good now about yourself. And it wasn't even we didn't even make them stay in that category. Just they had to think of 3 good things. And if they couldn't do it, we would give them 3 things. So this is a fun game to start. I would love for you to start this with yourself as soon as you notice it. Okay, say, I'm going to think of 3 things that are positive about myself. And I would love for you to give yourself proof in that area that you said negative that it is not true, because I want you to really start focusing on those things. Because when we start in that negative bias, we look for things to confirm those negativities. But I want you to have positive bias. I want you to recognize it and then have bias that is going to prove that negative thing wrong. And the other thing is, I want to for us to be kind to ourselves and say, of course I do this once in a while, or of course I'm not perfect, because I am a human being living in a world that is not perfect, that is fallen, and of course I'm going to mess up once in a while. Well, let's think of a few scriptures we can use. And these are what God says about us. This is who He said He created, and this is who we are. Because I am fearfully and wonderfully made, your works are wonderful. I know that full well. And the tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Okay, so let's back that up 1 second, because the tongue, before we say something, we have a thought. So our thoughts are going to fuel negativity or positivity. It is our choice. It is truly our choice. Even in a negative situation, when it is a time where, of course, we wished we hadn't done something, we can be positive about it by saying, of course, this happens because I am a human being. And I'm not the only one that makes these mistakes. And even the mistakes of not thinking good about myself, other people do it too. There's other people that will listen to this. There's other people that are going to be looking for ways to not just think of bad things about themselves. Be kind to yourself. Use a bridge thought that basically says, I know I'm not this right now, but these are the times that I have been all of this. And next time I am going to be better and I'm going to help myself get to the positive outlook of myself much quicker. And then by us saying and giving ourselves compliments, it helps us to compliment other people. And by all means, anytime you get a chance, compliment yourself and thank God for giving you that ability to be a better person. And whenever you get the opportunity to be kind and compliment another person, by all means do it. We never know what someone else is going through. And always remember, if we have air coming into our lungs, we will have to discipline our thoughts. We will have to discipline our thoughts. Our brains need supervision. They need supervision, even from ourselves. If we would not say this to another person we love, we cannot say it to ourselves. And we get the opportunity to encourage ourselves at any and every moment. So that is how we build self esteem. That's just one little tip I have for you. Do it often and embrace your God given confidence of who He created you to be. This is a loving God who is kind, loving, forgiving. He wants you to be all He created you to be. He wants you to focus on your good things, not on your negativities. Every opportunity you have to learn from something, learn, pick it up, and do the best you can the next time. Think of and pay attention to those negative thoughts, counterdict them with 3 positive in the same area. If you can't think of the 3 things in that same area, then anything you can think of that is positive about yourself, say them. And my dear friend, love yourself, love others, and look for the good in yourself and look for the good in others. All right. God bless.